Hello everyone. Hi. So we will start off with the live session. I'm just trying to set myself here. All right. So let's give people to join into this live session. Let's give them some time. Let me introduce myself to you all. Meanwhile, uh, I hope the audio is clear. Can anybody gives me a heads up? All right. I guess people are joining in. So let's get started with the session. Perfect. So, thank you Fast Enough for giving me this opportunity to connect to all the runners with Mumbai Road Running Group. And it's my first live with you all. So, let's see how it goes. I hope you get some good insight about running injury, especially about knee, we are going to talk about, and also how to prolong your running career, your running as a hobby some people are doing, or as a recreational, or some are really professional, into running. So how to add years to your running is actually going to be the thrust of my talk today. So if you have any questions, okay, Ram is telling me the audio needs to be higher. Ram, is it okay right now, or otherwise I'll just get rid of my headset? Okay, you guys can just give me inputs here. If my audio is not too clear, then probably I'll just get rid of my headset. Okay. So yeah, today we are talking about running injuries. And as I said, I'll discuss about some of the injuries overall in running, knee in particular, and how we can add years to your running. So let me introduce you to the work that I have done so far. I'm a physio. I have done my sports specialization from Australia. And before that, my bachelor's was from GS Medical College, KEM Hospital, very prestigious institute. It's in Mumbai. Uh, After finishing my bachelor's, I joined Mumbai Cricket Association. Uh, Around 2009, I joined. 2010, I got chance to start working with National Cricket Academy and BCCI, which is in Bangalore. National Cricket Academy is in Bangalore, part of BCCI. Uh, Currently, I worked with various national as well as international athletes. So I work in a very organized sporting sector. I work with Pro Kabaddi, Go Sports is an organization who's working with Olympic athletes. We see a lot of cricketers, kabaddi players, badminton, tennis in and out of our clinic, and so as runners. We see a lot of runners throughout the year, uh, and it's really interesting to see, how the running in the community is growing day by day, and how we have more and more number of runners coming up. So it's quite interesting looking back. Like few years back, we did not have these marathons throughout the year, and running, as an industry hasn't developed. So it's a big boom since few years now, and there's so much of corporate backing going on, so much of corporate philosophy. People want their employees to be active. People want to be active, and running is a great tool. It's a great activity. You don't need any gear like a sporting gear. You don't need any indoor facility to be a runner. What you need is just pair of good shoes, willingness to challenge your body, and hit the roads. So it's a great way to be active. It's a very easy way. to be active, but it is an intense activity. Uh, Although it's quite easy, it's an intense activity, and you need to really take care of your body. So, with all the health benefit that it offers, it does come with its share of demands on the body and related injuries. Uh, that's one part about running that, although it is very easy and people would like to take it up, because you don't have to join a club, or you don't have to be a super athlete to start running as an activity. But what we must understand here, it's not a organized sector. So what I mean by that is, because we come from, like, as a physio, I have always worked for the last 11 years with organized sector where people, they train in at a club level, then they go on to state level, then they go on to national, and they become international athlete. So they carry certain amount of awareness right from age, let's say 12 to 14. When they are really young, there are coaches around them, there are physios, there are trainers, and they are very much aware about their body, and lots of work goes on in the education of about the sport, and how to take care of your body, how to prevent injuries. Whereas if I see runners, most of the runners take up running in middle age. uh, let's say, might be just a corporate push or peer pressure. They want to be healthy, of course. They want to get rid of their excess weight, or it's just that they're afraid of acquiring any cardiac issues as they grow old, and then they say, okay, let me do some endurance activity. What's the best? Okay, let me take up running. Is sort of the scenario. I mean, you can probably agree to this, that if I ask runners what was the reason you took up running, we get to hear a lot of these answers. So what happens in here is there is not a lot of time on hand to do the other work around this activity, like the supplementary work, doing gym sessions or doing recovery sessions like swimming, getting good sleep. That's the most essential, for any kind of athlete, any recreational or professional. Sleep is so important. The diet and supplementation, which is so important again. You see players or athletes, they are very choosy about what they eat. Even on a cheat day, like, even if they are not training, they'll be really particular, because that forms the foundation of your body, and they have been doing it like for years. Also, sports, they take up sport to earn their daily living, their daily bread, which is not the case, with recreational runners. So, so why I'm trying to tell you all is just to give you a different perspective, that when we are doing or taking up running as an activity, which is biomechanically and inherently, it's a very intense activity for a body. There are too many forces which are going through your joints, like ankle, knee, the spine. Overall body demand is really high. So if I have to compare a runner to my professional athletes, is kind of comparison I'm trying to give you, that they have a lot of time. They are doing 2 to 3 sessions in a day, because they are just focused on running, but on sports. But for a runner, you have to go attend your office. You have your family commitments. You have your other time commitments. So there are too many things happening around, uh, especially the time management. You see that most of the runners, they skip their recovery sessions, or they cannot go to gym because they don't have time on their hand. Uh, and the mileage build up, that you all, it's so important for you all, that when you start your running sessions before the marathon, let's say around August, July, people will start running slowly. They're adding up volume, the weekly volume, uh, gradually. What happens is, in that process, uh, as you come closer to your marathons, there's so much of running to be done. And and nowadays people are having tempo runs. They are having their interval running sessions, the speed interval running sessions, uh, sprint repeats they are doing, along with the regular runs, what is happening with that is there's so much of time gone 4 to 5 days a week. So now I don't have time to do my gym sessions. I don't have time to do my swimming sessions as a recovery. I don't have time to do some cross training around it, or some supplementary work around it, like my mobility sessions. I might get injured during that time, and my physio gives me some additional work, so I have to do my rehab sessions as well. Or for prevention, I have already done a screening with my physio, so I have to do my injury prevention kind of program, a rehab session. Now, people don't have time. They have to build up their running volume as they're coming closer to the marathons. So with all these things, it's like a spectrum around you all runners. And what happens at the end is you face injuries while we are going through all this process. We come across injuries, then then there is a stop. You have to take a back seat. You have to think what has gone wrong. You have to probably take a lot of rest period and then start all over again. So that kind of a setback which people don't like at all, especially runners, because they lose so much of time. Then they have to start off with the volume altogether again. So we see such kind of scenario all the time at the clinic. Uh, I'm quite sure during all this process, you all must be running for years now, and all this process you all must have experienced. People must have told you how to, do things differently to prevent injuries from happening, or to improve your performances. So I'm not going to go through like a traditional way a physio would talk to all the runners that let's look at the warm up exercises, let's look at cool down exercises, or foam roller exercises, and what else you can do around the hip and around the spine, or the shoes and surfaces, uphill, downhill. I would like to talk more, connect to you all more about what happens particularly in the knee, because that was the topic we had chosen. And the other thing I would like to talk about is various factors around injuries. When you go to an orthopedician, or when you go to a physio, they will ask you to do investigations. They ask you to take rest for a particular number of days. Uh, there are too many things on internet. Everybody's searching things on internet nowadays, which is more than being helpful. It increases your anxiety. Uh, then there comes, let's say you have done your physio sessions, you have taken your rest, but it hasn't worked. So then the point comes that somebody, your orthopedician, will tell you about injections. That, oh, you have to take so and so injection around your knee, and you'll be fine in no time, and you'll be back to running. So that's a good way to heal your injury. That's a good way to suppress your pain. So what happens around injections? Then going beyond, some people get a little more severe injuries, like around their menisci, around their ligaments in the knee. We are talking today particularly about the knee. So what happens in such scenarios? You should go for a surgery, or you shouldn't go for a surgery? I would be talking about all these aspects as well, talking about the early degeneration around the knee and what we can do naturally to prevent it, as well as through training and exercises, uh, and some diet and supplementation tips. So this is all particularly I'm going to talk about, along with, of course, touching all the injuries which can happen commonly around the knee, and how as a physio I can guide you, or I can give you advice to prevent those injuries. Okay. So coming back again, before I start talking about injuries around knee, let's talk about in general why injuries happen in running. Uh, some of the pointers again, there are like multiple factors. Most of you are aware of it. Most of you must have experienced it in your years of running. Just few important pointers which I'll be touching later on again as I talk through. So too fast, too soon. Uh, Complete ignorance towards load management is a major factor, not just in running, in all other sports. Like people really want to hurry through the process. They want to reach their volume, let's say if it's a 60K, they want to reach it in no time. They probably start late, that can be the reason. They didn't start in time with their coaching for running to build up the volume. It's mostly the reason. Or maybe they were injured and they lost some time, and then by the time they are recovered and they are back to their running, they have hit the roads. The marathon is probably in like 4 weeks or 3 weeks, and now they have to build up their volume in a hurry and they have to finish their marathon. It's mostly the scenarios. Too fast, too soon is mostly the case why most people uh, get injured in various parts. Uh, the off season, I think that's another component. In any sport, again, you have season, you have kind of pre-season training, and the off season where you're supposed to build up your body for what is coming ahead in the season, for what kind of sporting activity is coming ahead. Now, what happens again in an organized sport? There are people to tell you that look, your season is going to start in this month. This is your off season. You have to finish this kind of training in off season to prepare for your season, so you can performance can build up over the time. Your performance can peak during this time. Let's say for tennis player, and we have planned the entire year for them, and we know that so and so important tournament is probably coming after 5 months or after 6 months. So accordingly, you plan an off season for them so that they can hit their peak around that fifth or sixth month. So similarly for a runner, I'm sure the coaches, they know the best. I'm sure they plan your off season and the season training, but most of the time we ignore our training or our work, which is your responsibility, because mostly you're in touch with your coaches, through apps or probably through your groups. But most of the times, because you're not going for your running session, as you all do, as you go through your seasonal training before the marathon, that off-season training, which is a very important part, gets neglected. So that's another big component. That is your body built, is your body is ready to get into your seasonal training. The other most important part, as I already said, is because of time commitment or lack of proper scheduling, most of the people will miss their strength training sessions. So they would probably very conveniently ignore. I don't blame them, because life is so busy and so rushed that you don't have time to do everything all the time. And as we said, 4 to 5 times a week you are running already. So where's time to do the strength session? Because that will be a second session for the day for most of you if you are running 5 days a week. And people don't have that much of time, and neither the capacity to recover from those 2 sessions done in a day. So strength training or body weight training, which forms a very important part of like a supplementary training for your running, does get neglected by most of the runners. Then the recovery strategies or recovery activities. Well, that's again a big miss in the puzzle, right? People think that why I'm not doing good with my running time, or why I'm not getting better at my running speed, why I can't go from half marathon to full marathon in a year's time, or even lesser than that sometimes their expectation. But what we are missing here is the recovery. Again, if you're running 5 days a week and then you go attend your office, you have other commitments as well. There are a lot of stressors in life. So, are you getting good sleep is a big question mark again. If that's not happening, and if your recovery strategies is, let's say, just doing a massage 2 to 3 times a week, which is a passive recovery, is not going to help to your overall running performance. You really need to come up with active recovery strategies, as sports persons would do, or as the professional athletes would do. What we mean by active recovery strategies, the best one for your sport is going to be swimming, because you all are running all the time, most of the time on concrete roads. Not everybody has the luxury of having a great track around their building complex. So mostly it's the roads, which is going to give a lot of stresses around the joint. Now, how to offload those joints is get inside the pool, because water has a property of buoyancy. We all learn it when we are kids in physics. Because of the buoyancy effect in the water, your joints are actually going to get. It's a very micro level reaction happening in the joint, but there is some offloading happening inside the joint, and that's going to be the best recovery for runners, especially for your lower body, which has gone through so much of loading in the week that it really deserves that one day of swimming. So that's going to be active recovery strategy. Well, what are other active recovery strategies? So I know that after your long run on Sunday, you all are mostly supposed to do active recovery run on Monday. We call it recovery run. I'm not too sure how many people do it, but if you are not, I think that's again a very important day. It should be in your weekly calendar. Doing that recovery run. So that's an active recovery strategy for you. Uh, what active recovery does is traditionally we believe, when we take massage, we are sort of flushing the metabolic waste that we have in the body, and you feel really great. Well, in active recovery, it's not just from muscles that you're flushing off. I'm talking in a like very lay language here. This is not really scientific. This is like just in common terms to understand that what really happens in recovery is you are trying to flush out all those metabolic waste, not just from your musculoskeletal system, just from the muscles superficially, but really from deep within, from your systems. So active recovery is very helpful in this regard, and it always builds up your body over the time. So what it's doing is actually improving your performance, whereas the passive recovery, which would be a massage done by someone else on your body, so not self-massaging like a foam rolling, but someone else doing massage on your body, is a passive recovery. Uh, Active recovery strategies will improve your body capacity, but passive recovery strategies will probably not do much to your body capacity going in the long run. Thinking about long run, in fact, it makes you dependent on that passive recovery. It makes you dependent on someone else to bring about recovery in your own body, which is again not a nice scenario. You should take control of your own recovery. You should feel refreshed and regenerated after doing that recovery. So swimming, foam rolling, doing your recovery runs, doing some uh, gentle activity like let's say cycling can be a good way to recover your body after your long runs or after that heavy weekly volume. So think about all these factors again, because we keep talking about recovery all the time. Some people like to just go and sit in a jacuzzi or a steam, if they have the facility. Uh, Probably a little better, I would say, than just taking a massage. Massage is great, like sports massage is great. Uh, but as I said, people get really dependent on that massage. I'm sure you would agree to this. You would relate to this. That without that one sports massage session, you don't feel like running sometimes. Uh, so now that is not a good way. You want your body to be really healthy. You want to be energetic. You want to achieve more and more mileage. You want to improve your running speed or your timing. So why not go for active recoveries, which research-wise, has shown to build your body capacity. And that's why most of the professional athletes, yes, massage is a part of their technique to recover, but the most important are these other activities. And of course, sleep. You really, really have to get at least, I would say, in this busy life, at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, good sleep. If you see professional athletes, we ask them to sleep 8 to 9 hours at a stretch, and they also take afternoon nap because they have so much time in their hand. They also take an afternoon nap, and that is shown to improve their performance. Now, if you are one of those professional runners, uh, listening to me right now, then having an afternoon nap really helps. But I'm sure most of you, with your all busy office routine, there's no luxury to take afternoon naps. So what you have to do is a good night sleep for around 8 hours. So I've spoken about the general things which I wanted to point out. Now let's talk about particularly knee. Like, why do we get so many injuries around the knee? It's sitting in the middle. There's hip on the top, spine on the top, ankle down, and it's like a link. It's sort of a link between your top chains biomechanically and your bottom chain, which is your ankle. It's, think of it like a hinge. It's like transmitting forces, giving that leverage to forces. So that's why we see a lot of injuries around the knee joint. It's a very important joint for absorption of forces too. The common injuries that we see is lots of muscle strains around the thigh, around the calf, so quadricep, hamstring, muscle pulls, IT band syndrome. Of course, everybody loves to talk about IT band syndrome. Runner's knee. It's a very you say it's like an umbrella term. It's not a very specific term for us professionals to talk about. Runner's knee can implicate anything. If you see scientifically, most of the times the problem is with the kneecap. So when we say runner's knee, it's the front of the knee pain. Most of the time, problem is with the kneecap. How the forces are acting on the kneecap. Are they balanced? That's the key. So we call it patellofemoral pain syndrome. Patella is the kneecap bone. Femur is the long bone of the thigh. So is the problem happening around it, around the joint interfaces? Then there are tendons around the knee, especially again the patella tendon, the kneecap tendon can give a lot of trouble. The joint itself can give a lot of trouble. Like as we said, the degenerative changes in the joint. Sometimes people have to leave running and take up some kind of other activities because they start experiencing more inflammation around the joint. So when we are thinking about treatments or these injuries around the knee, should we just focus on the knee is a big question mark. As I said, it's like a link between your hip and the ankle, spine, hip, and ankle. So we have to really consider what we call in medical term proximal components. So hip especially, hip kind of guides your knee joint. So and it's the largest joint in the body. It has got the largest muscle cover in the body. So it can give a better protection to knee. So whenever we are thinking about, whenever you go to your physios, your trainers, you should really focus on that knee joint. That no, I have to work around my knee, so I have to do leg extensions and leg curls, and I expect miracles to happen. No, that is not going to work. You have to work on your hip joint. You have to work the muscles around the hip joint. That's the first and foremost thing. Very, very important to protect your knees. So if you're not doing so, please go back and figure out how you can add more and more hip exercises in your gym sessions, or if a physio has given you rehab sessions, or some physios will give you a prehab, which is the injury prevention kind of program. So we make sure that we have enough hip exercises there. What else I want to talk about? Yeah, that's it. So taking care of proximal chain becomes really important. So your core muscles, your hip muscles, uh, and your knee and ankle will follow. If the guidance from the hip is done properly, your knee and ankle will follow a right biomechanical chain, and the whole loading will become more efficient. That's what we want to make it, right? Make the loading on the body more efficient. Uh, Okay, so in the same regard, so muscle pull, everybody is aware, if there is a acute muscle pull, what you should do, what not to be done, and generally they heal really quick. They're much faster to heal, but not a IT band, what we call IT band syndrome. Well, again, for IT band, so it's like an irritation which happens at the end of this band. It's like a band kind of tissue. It's not a muscle tissue. So just doing foam rolling on the thigh, side of the thigh, is not always the best strategy to prevent or why you're treating the IT band. You have to again go on the top where the IT band starts. It's called TFL muscle. It's at the hip again. You have to take care of TFL muscle mobility. So you have to roll your foam roller on the top of the hip, on the side of the hip area. Now that muscle, whenever it becomes overactive, so why it becomes overactive is your posterior muscle, which are behind, backside, the seat muscles, the glute muscle complex. If that is not strong enough, or that's not getting enough activity, proper initiation, your TFL starts becoming really, overactive. It starts kicking in very early. What it does, it through IT band and along with TFL, your quadricep has four muscles. So the outer cords, we call it lateral cord, that also starts becoming active, overactive in some people because of various reasons. We don't have time to go in depth on this point, but to tell you in brief that with this overactivity in couple of muscles, what happens is your kneecap, these are micro minimal sort of movements that happen, that it has sort of slightly shifted its path, especially while moving. And that starts the whole rubbing and inflammation around the kneecap, under the kneecap, and on the ITB the area, the IT band. So what we have to do is the first and foremost thing, start working on the glutes again. Start reducing this TFL activity. So you must have seen your physios, when they're teaching you something simple as clamshell exercise. You all can Google about this exercise if you don't know. Some simple exercise like clamshell, you have to do it really properly because many people tell us this is really easy. I can do it with black and uh, blue loop back. It's that easy for me now. What happens in here is that all the other muscles around that area are working so hard that probably you do not know if your glute muscles or gluteus medius, which is a part of gluteal muscle complex, is it working or not working? So you have to be really careful, really aware which muscles are working in exercises. What should not work is also something very important to ask your physios. How can I focus my awareness while doing different exercises? You have to tell me which muscle should work, which should not work. So as simple as that, while doing all your hip exercises, make sure that the right muscles are working because otherwise we are not going to achieve the maximum benefit out of it. So talking about IT band, there has to be a balance between your quadricep, hamstring, between your glute strength and your hamstring strength. So there are various factors. If you visit a proper physio, if you are suffering through IT band syndrome, if you visit a proper physio, they will guide you through this. Because it's not just easy as saying, okay, let's start hip dominant exercises and this will subside on its own. So like a proper physio guidance, if you're going through a very bad IT band syndrome, can be really painful sometimes. If you are going through a bad one, please visit a proper physio. If not, if it's just irritation once in a while that you feel, make sure that you do your clamshell exercises properly. If it's a bridging exercise, make sure that from double leg you have to go on to doing single leg because single leg control in running, I can't emphasize on it enough. It is extremely important. So let's say, for example, being a runner, you're always thinking about mileage. That my weekly mileage is now 40. I have to make it 45 and 50 and 60. Why can't we start thinking that I do a good double leg squat, but can I do a nice single leg squat as well? Why can't that be a goal, for you all, not just in off season. I'm saying, during your marathon training sessions as well, during that phase, right, from you start your season and you go towards probably January. Mumbai Marathon is a big goal for many of you. Doing a single leg squat is extremely important for me for any activity. Maybe running, maybe playing badminton, maybe playing tennis, maybe just a cricketer. Uh, because in running, even if you are a slow runner, like don't have real pace or if you're not sprinting, for microseconds you are balancing your body on one leg and you are propagating your forces to take that next stride. So everything is on single leg. So that single leg control, and you all must have seen your, let's say your pictures. At the end of the marathon, people are running and they're getting clicked, and you see sometimes your body balance is on one leg, and the leg is quite collapsed. You know what I mean? Like if you have visited physios, they would tell you that you should avoid collapse at the knee, and most of the time that's what happens with fatigue and how the injury, the circuit starts setting in. So single leg exercises are extremely important to get that hip strength going in an activity like running. Uh, so today, probably, I don't know if we can have another series, but based on the sort of continuing the same topic, but there are various myths around injuries around the knee, like the shoes and the surfaces and stuff like that. I don't think I have a lot of time because I would like to again touch upon a few important things. So let me continue with this. I spoke about IT band. I spoke about muscle pulls. Uh, I spoke of a little bit runner's knee, which is the kneecap rubbing happening in an awkward fashion and setting up inflammation, which would be a kneecap syndrome or the runner's knee. Uh, let's see what happens when orthopedicians, especially when they start talking about uh, early degeneration in the knee, and then they will ask you to take MRI, get investigation done. Let's see how much wear and tear you have around your knee, or they will ask you to take X-rays, comparing right to left if you have left knee pain, and then many of them will ask you that why don't you stop running? Why don't you take up some other activity or some other sport? Why don't you do cycling? Because there is no load going through the body. So cycling would be really great for your knees because your knees seem like already have started with a little bit of degeneration around. Uh, what happens is, I'll go back to the point where I started, that why people start taking up running as an activity. Many of them do it not just for their cardiac health, but to reduce weight. Now it's a little chicken and egg kind of situation. That if I'm obese, I'm overweight, I want to lose weight, and the fastest way of doing it is running. But what is happening is running is a very intense activity for joints. So lots of forces are going through the joint, 5 times the body weight. Now, I'm already overweight. So more forces are bound to go through my knee uh, and can set up a bit of wear and tear changes, which we all are going to suffer from. As we age, degeneration is nothing about the aging changes that are going to set in for all of us. Maybe in the knee, maybe some people who use their shoulders heavily, it will set in the shoulders as well. Uh, so it's like chicken and egg. Like, what do? I have to get rid of my excess weight, so I have to run. But then I start getting inflammation, stiffness around my knee. Uh, and then the doctor says, okay, don't do running. So I really get depressed because now if I have inflammation around the knee, I have to really rest it for some time. I probably have put on more weight. So it's like a cycle, it keeps on happening, keeps on going, and people somehow, some people can't get out of this cycle. So my suggestion to you all would be, don't think that you have to take up running to lose weight, uh, because you need to first start taking a step back with your diet, with your other non impact activities. Start losing some weight. then you gradually start loading your body, because that would be a nice way to enter into running activity rather than going all guns blazing and starting from the first week that I have to achieve these many this much mileage to start losing weight. So that's another tip from my side. Really work hard. If you're disciplined with your diet, anybody can lose weight with dieting and adding some non-weight bearing activities initially, and then think about taking up intense running as an activity. Now, should we be fearful of knee degeneration? Well, the answer is no. As I already said, it's a part of life process. We all have to go through it. The best way to reduce load on your joint and on your cartilage is going into the pool, getting into the pool. Doing those recovery swimming sessions is the best way to offload your joints, and that's going to add years to your running. Well, the other thing about swimming, what happens in a city like Mumbai, we don't have those many swimming pools, and there are some centers which have started offering contained sort of environment, like contained pools. Uh, I would really urge to you all, please find a proper facility of a proper big swimming pool, because more the water column, more the pressure of the water column, more is the buoyancy, more is the efficacy again in offloading joint forces. So you really need to find a proper pool if possible. Or there are these other activities, like doing a gym session, proper gym session, strength session is also offloading uh, for your joints. If your muscles are strong, they will offload your joint. Uh, Again, there is a whole science behind it, how this kind of effect happens. We probably don't have time to go through that right now. But the point is, degeneration can be delayed, or even if you have some signs of early degeneration, maybe on MRR, maybe your symptoms are like that, like stiffness in the morning or feeling really stiff after your running sessions, you can sort of reverse it by slowly starting to take up your gym sessions, reduce a little bit of your mileage for some time, introduce swimming sessions. Then what we can do naturally is add vitamin C as a supplement. So you all know that Fasinak has vitamin C effervescent tablets along with zinc. Vitamin C is great for collagen, and cartilage is made of collagen. So joint is it's not the bone that starts rubbing; it's the cartilage that undergoes wear and tear changes. So what we need is a good collagen forming process in the body, for which vitamin C is a foundation. And vitamin C that we get from, let's say, lemons or amla is not enough to sort of kickstart this process of collagen formation again, collagen synthesis again in the body. You need some extra heavy dose. So 1000 mg is the right dose to have daily of vitamin C, and the dietary vitamin C cannot give you this dose, unfortunately. So you have to go for some supplements. Vitamin C is a great addition. If you are not taking it already, it's a great addition for protecting your joints overall. The next thing is vitamin D3. So many people who start taking actually calcium supplement, and they forget about vitamin D3. If you have more calcium in your body, it's just going to get flushed out of the system. You need your vitamin D3 for the bones to take up that calcium, for bones to utilize the calcium. So please don't neglect. First thing again, if you want to want to start vitamin D supplementation, you have to first check it. How much vitamin D actually is there in the body, what is the source, and then start supplementing, because overdosage of vitamin D is not good for the body, and you have to monitor it. Like whichever, let's say, mode of vitamin D you're consuming, if it's a capsule or if it's a powder, you need to know whether your body is taking it up. So after, let's say, 3 months after finishing your dose, after 3 months, please go and recheck your vitamin D levels. See if there is any difference or no, and if there is no difference, then you have to probably take injections maybe, or change capsule, you can do the powder or the pump, from powder to capsule, or if nothing is working, then injection can be a good way to increase vitamin D levels in your body. The other thing I would like to touch is proteins and Indian diet. Most of us are vegetarian, but what happens is uh, non-veg, non-veg protein, it has a big major bioavailability compared to vegetarian protein. So they are going to get absorbed much faster. And if you see non-vegetarian protein, it's actually complete protein. Veg protein has, if we see the amino acid chain complexes, the vegetarian protein, couple of amino acids are not present. So then, if you can't have non-vegetarian protein, so as a professional working with elite athletes, we see all the elite athletes, most of them having non-vegetarian diet. And if they are having just vegetarian diet, their intake of protein-rich food is really high, or they are taking supplementation again. So if you haven't started yourself on any protein supplementation and have had intense running years, uh, and you're getting injured or you're feeling fatigued and you're not getting recovered fully, then it's time to think about protein component of your diet. You can add a supplement. Again, some people react to whey protein; they don't like whey protein. So, if that is the case, you can try out again. Say there is a fastener product, Recover. You can probably try out that product after the runs. You can take Recover, or you have to visit a proper nutritionist. She can give you different alternatives for your whey protein. So there are some products available in the market now made out of pea protein, rice protein. You have to choose what is right for you. But again, as a professional working with professional athletes, I would say a protein-rich diet is a must if you are getting into intense activities. Hydration is also very important. Uh, for the reload product by Fastener is I think my all-time favorite. And if we see the cricket circuit, it's getting so popular among cricketers. Reload is a great product. So hydration through your running uh, is really important. Pre, post is equally important, and throughout the day as well. Like don't forget, even right now, we're all sitting in our houses. That doesn't mean that our water intake should be less. Water is really important for the body. So, what is the take-home message? I know I have just, for few points, I've just rushed through because of the time restriction. But the take-home message from my side would be recovery, recovery, and recovery. And make sure that it has to be active recovery. Please don't rely on just passive recovery strategies. Gym training is a must. You have to really, if you haven't started or if you haven't done it in the past years, you have to please start off with at least 2 sessions in a week of bodyweight exercises or gym sessions, proper resistance training. Diet and supplementation is extremely important. No one can do without it in today's world, where everything is so adulterated. You have to really look at what goes into your body and system. Load management, extremely important. Everybody keeps talking about it. To prevent injuries, to improve your performance, you have to gradually improve on your running volume. If you are injured, please reach out to authentic professionals who can really help you out. Good physios, good trainers, so many coaches around. So I do, and you all know, your coaches, you all know whom to approach. But please make sure that you reach out to a good physio, to a good trainer who can really bring a lot of difference in not just in your injuries and injury management, but post that, just to improve your the entire running performance. Uh, and whenever you're injured, please do not just rest during that layoff period. You have to do activities which are allowed by your health professional uh, without giving a complete rest to the body. Don't come to a complete stop. So please keep running. Do what you're doing the best. reach out to the professionals to improve your performance is all what I would like to say in this today's session. If there is a chance, I would like to come back again and probably discuss more into knees or maybe ankle joint or some other joint if you want to take up or want to talk about running as a whole and all the strategies that we were discussing like recovery and gym training sessions and so on and so forth. If that's the case, I would really like to come back again and talk to you all. Let's see if there are many questions. If you can take one or two questions here. Somebody is asking about meniscus tears and meniscal tear recovery. Zoe. So meniscus again is a part of joint complex. So I was talking about degeneration, how wear and tear happens in the knee. Most of the time we see that meniscal injury is a gradual sort of has happened over the time. Slowly the forces, because of various biomechanical factors, the joint is not getting loaded properly, and your meniscus starts undergoing wear and tear changes. And because of that, what you see at the end in MRI is a frank injury has probably happened over the time. So in that kind of scenario, you should not go for injections or surgery straight away. Please give a lot of time to your physios. It can take, let's say, from 6 weeks to 8 weeks with a good rehab process. He's saying, I already had a tear and the surgery, need to get back to running. Okay, if you already have got your surgery done, you really need to give yourself at least 3 months, I would say, a good rehab for these 3 months, a gradual loading of that joint, and then go back to your running and then start loading up and increasing your volume. I hope if that helps. So so the whole meniscus rehab again has to be a hip dominated rehab. So you strengthen your proximal muscles, hip and core muscles. You change your biomechanical patterns. You get better at your single leg squat. You get better at your probably single leg impact loading. Like train yourself to do single leg hops, jumps. Be very steady, when all this balance training is going on. And then you will find that when you get back to your running, when you hit the roads, you'll be probably much better in that shock absorption. So I hope if that has answered your question. You need to give yourself time. Just running. Any regular exercise recommendation for post-run? As we were talking, that recovery becomes really important after your run. So some people like doing foam rolling before the run, but we always say you save the rolling. You can do like quick, brisk foam rolling before run, but please do a relaxed and like put some pressure, do some more work rolls after your run is over. So I would rank foam rolling as a must exercise after the run, and you have to do some static stretches if that is what has been your routine. You have to do some relaxed static stretches. At the beginning is all dynamic warm up, so you can't do static stretching before you have started running. You'd rather do a lot of mobility kind of workout and dynamic stretches, but post workout it has to be like relaxed stretching or foam rolling. You have to take care of your diet and supplements and your hydration post run. So Hemant is asking, I spoke about runner's knee. So Hemant, this recording is going to be, I guess, on the Mumbai Road Runners group page. So you can go back and listen to the recording again. Do lunges lead to more wear and tear? Definitely not. So Jivan, definitely not. So most of the doctors will tell you, after knee injuries, please don't do squatting, please don't do lunges. Well, that's not the case, because if you see running patterns and movement patterns, in different sports, we do need squats and we do need lunges. So how can we avoid it? The key here is to train them properly. The key here is to correct your movement patterns. So if your lunge is not very stable, if your knee is wobbly, going in, falling inwards all the time, if you can't do them without getting fatigued or without getting overly, feeling pressure around the knee, then something is going wrong. Ask your trainer to give you some base program, to develop your hip and knee control, and then get on with your running or with your lunging exercises, which would be a much better approach rather than just doing lunges to improve your lunges. You have to take a step back, do some more isolated work around the hip, knee, and then get on with your lunges. That would be a proper way. And wear and tear would be restricted then, because now your joint is getting properly loaded while you're doing lunges. So wear and tear is not related to a lunge or a squat. Wear and tear is more related to the loading going through the knees during the activities. By strengthening your muscles, you make sure that the loading happening at the joint is happening in a proper manner. And there are various other factors, as I already said, doing the recovery through swimming and your diet. Sometimes it's just the genes, sometimes it's your genetic bone sort of health, which can predispose you to early wear and tear, for which we can't do much, but then you can do some blood checkup, visit your orthos. There are some medicines available which they will put you on to take care of your joints and bones. Knee pain due to loss of stamina. Okay, dial in if anybody has particularly told you that there is a loss of synovial fluid, and because of that you're getting knee pain. I would say it's not the case. Dial in. Somebody has to really look at your knee, analyze properly, and tell you a proper diagnosis, because loss of fluid, synovial fluid, is not a diagnosis. It just, again, like common language, people would like to explain these terms. That doesn't exist. That solely doesn't exist. Okay, I think there are, not no more questions. Uh, yeah, we still have like a minute or so. If anybody wants to ask any question, like I'm happy to talk about. If you have any other queries, otherwise, I'm happy to talk about something about the knee, or something that you were really expecting and I haven't touched. It's plyometric exercises recommended. Yes, definitely, especially around the calf, because for a runner, calf is an extremely important muscle and tendon. You're constantly, uh, while doing running, you're using that calf muscle all the time. So I would add plyometrics for the calf for you guys, rather than adding very explosive jumps, or box jumps, like a higher box jump training that sports people do. I wouldn't probably go for that kind of training for you all. But yes, we can add lots of calf plyometrics. So doing your speed and agility work, with the ladder, or let's say doing calf raises at a higher pace, becomes a plyometric activity in itself. So that should be sufficient for runners. Yeah, I guess it's 8 o'clock. As I spoke for an hour. It was a very good session. Thank you so much. Like, I really enjoyed talking about it. I love talking to runners because, as I said, I work with professional athletes, and most of the time, they know their stuff. And what's in our hand to achieve that 1%, 2% that is lacking, and push them, to achieve their best and their highest. But there's so much to do with the running community. I mean, I would really love to come back and interact with you all again. Or if you have any queries, you can just please keep typing that queries, and I'll come back to it. What's your take on indoor running that people are doing? Is it good for knees in the long run? Well, it really depends again, like what kind of surface they are running on ground. Because if indoor surfaces are really hard, then what will happen? After a while, they will start developing shin pains. Maybe not now, like not today, not in a week. It might happen after 3 weeks. It might happen after 4 weeks. So it's a little delayed reaction that we see. From 3 weeks to 6 weeks is the time period that you have done so much of running harder surface, that body starts storing those forces inside. The bone starts storing that forces. After 3 to 6 weeks, it will sort of show you like the pain, because you have reached your pain threshold and the bone starts showing pain. So which is a worry, because then you really need to figure out what you did wrong. Let's say from 1 to 3 months span, figure out, sit down with your physios, figure out your training records, and then what happens is it needs a lot of rest period, a lot of time where you cannot load your body, you cannot load those bones. The most harmful in this spectrum is when you actually have frank stress reactions and stress fractures. You must have heard these terms. So we pray that no one reaches that point. So if you are doing lots of indoor running, you really have to see what surface you're running on. Is it like the car park area that you're using, which is going to be like tough cement and real hard surface? So make sure that you take care of your running volume if you're doing too much of indoor running, and make sure that you're recovering well out of it. Immediately after running, doing static stretch, what's the gap before I do my foam roller? You can get onto your roller immediately. I mean, there is no hard and fast rule that you have to wait. You have to finish your static stretch, then you do foam rolling. You can. Some people really like to do foam rolling. They love that feeling of roller on body. You'd finish that, like I would do that. I would finish that, and then I'll do my stretch. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really loved sharing my views and interacting with you all already. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all in the future. Take care. I hope you are all coping very well with this COVID-19 situation. If you have any doubts, again, you can just put in that box, or you can write to me personally. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care, all of you. Thank you.